All right, folks, we'll go ahead and get started. This morning's meeting is going to be fairly brief certainly compared to last month, which is good for some, maybe bad for others, I don't know. We'll now call the regular meeting of the Air Pollution Control District Board to order. We're conducting the monthly board meeting today via video teleconference. In regards to the board, when I call your name and when you're present in person or on the teleconference, please say here. Jeffrey Coburn.
Here.
Candace Show White.
Here.
Marissa Neal.
Yeah.
Charlie Berthelon.
Here.
William Porter is not present at the moment, and we have a new board member that will be introduced in a moment, but I want to ask him if he's here. Robert Blair.
Here.
Thank you. Let's move to introductions. Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sullivan. I really appreciate that. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Robert Blair, a resident of District 18, who was formally appointed to the board last night and joins us today for his first meeting of the Air Pollution Control Board. Mr. Blair is a registered nurse with U of L Health and also serves as an adjunct professor with Galen College of Nursing. Mr. Blair obtained his bachelor and master's degree from the University of Louisville. And of course, the quintessential Louisville question, he is a graduate of Trinity High School.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Robert, thanks for joining the board, and we'll look forward to your contributions. And again, this will not be the regular type meeting we have, just because it's a little bit light on the agenda, but thanks for being here. Thank you. Public recognitions, none this morning.
Today.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. The minutes of the public hearing and regular board meeting held on November 19, 2025 were distributed electronically. Are any comments or questions, changes from the board on those minutes? Hearing none, those minutes are adopted. Move to the public comment period. Ms. Roberts, anybody registered to make a comment this morning?
Yes, we have a few people. First is Ebony Neal Cochran from React.
Please step to the podium and tell us your name and what group you're representing, if any.
One second.
By the way, can everybody hear? No?
Very well.
Really?
The mic's not on.
Lights are, I'm speaking it. Then, it's not amplifying.
All right.
Is that?
Neither is that one, so we'll speak louder.
The closer you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. That's.
Hello, my name is Ebony Neal Cochran, and I'm with React. I'd like to speak today about Anderson Wood, located in the Parkland neighborhood in West Louisville. Our goal is the significant reduction and ultimately the elimination of exposures to fugitive dust emissions, thick black smoke that sometimes puffs out of the stack, the intense odors of burning wood, and the potential harm or property damage that may occur if there is another fire or another explosion at the facility. Since August, we've come before this board to outline the issues that plague workers, residents, and those who travel through the neighborhood. We have also outlined the potential for catastrophe, not only based on previous fires, but also based on fire run reports that over the years show fire safety equipment malfunctions and false alarms. We have talked to you about the health concerns related to wood dust, which we know is associated with certain cancers. Now it is time for us to place the ball in your court. The community has done more than what should be expected. How many people do we need to bring with us to this meeting? How much more of our time must we spend? How many more days of work must we miss to convince you to take action? Each month we speak, the district convinces you that our complaints should be sent to other agencies. The district convinces you that they are unable to make recommendations. Tell me where in the statute the district is prohibited from making recommendations. They made a recommendation for Anderson Wood to test what they suspected was asbestos. What makes that different from making a recommendation related to fixing the root cause of fugitive dust emissions? This incident report right here, documents one of the fires that previously occurred at the facility. It documents that, and it reads, quote, "The first ignition source was identified as sawdust and asphalt shingles." It is not enough that the director stood on the roof of Anderson Wood and now declares there was no problem in that one moment in time. It is not enough that the district now drives around the facility more often. It is not enough that the district showed you a photo of their investigation of Earth Day emissions and provided photos from an area different from where the community told them emissions were coming from. It is time that you as a board start pushing the district to do more. Why is the district resistant to solving this fugitive emissions problem? It is within the scope of what they should be doing. Wood dust and wood chips are emissions. Emissions are the business of the district. Today, I'm here to remind you both of the APCD mission and equity statements, which I don't have time to read within this tiny 3 minutes of trying to provide you with important information. We would like a response from this board as to what action will be taken. We believe we deserve it. There is no way folks should address this board month after month after month, and there not be a tangible improvement with regard to the issues at hand. We have put forth multiple solutions. Now it is time for the district to work with the community to reduce exposures and hold Anderson Wood accountable. Environmental justice.
Thank you. Robbins, any other?
Yes, next we have Terrell Holder from Sierra Club, Kentucky.
If you'll share a copy with the Secretary Treasurer, Ms. Neal, we would appreciate that for our records as well.
Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm Terrell Holder with Sierra Club, Kentucky. And first of all, I'd like to say we're here to support REACT in their efforts regarding Anderson Wood. I don't know nearly as much. I stand on her statements. But I did take a tour of the facility on the exterior a few weeks ago. And one thing I noticed is that it's an aging facility. It's an aging facility. There are obvious deferred maintenance issues on the exterior. And while I was there, I didn't observe any fires or injury, threats to personal injury or anything. But I did notice that there was trucks coming and going, sawdust coming out of the trucks and so forth. But it is an aging facility, and I would encourage you all to pay attention to what Ebony's saying, because I'm sure that it's true. And I also know that Anderson Wood is a valuable business in Kentucky, and I think that they would be, I would hope that they would be open to making the necessary improvements to keep their business viable. The second thing I want to talk about is just a question. I've been reading lately about some pretty disastrous things going on with regard to backup generators associated with hyperscale data centers around the country, Memphis and Virginia in particular. And what we're seeing is that the backup generators that they require for 24/7 operation are in operation a whole lot more than we would expect them to be. They're not backup generators. In Memphis, they're the primary power source for the Tesla data center there that Musk is running. So my question to you is, number one, do we have regulations in place governing freestanding power generation systems powered by diesel and gas? Can anybody answer that?
Mr. King, if you would.
We do have regulations. We implement first the federal regulations that regulate engines and turbines that are used to generate electricity. We don't regulate the energy production like the Public Service Commission does. So whether you're running those engines to make electricity for your facility or to make mechanical power for your facility, we regulate them similarly. But we do distinguish in those regulations between backup power and base load power. And that's established through an allowance to operate for testing and maintenance and the proof that it really is a power curtailment that has you running it outside of the testing and maintenance. They're regulated differently than those that can run all day.
Okay, so on a system,
I'm sorry, additionally, when they are providing baseload power, there are also additional regulations such as prevention of significant deterioration and new source review that would apply to those emissions.
Any large source, those would apply.
okay. So if I understand what you said, there are the freestanding power generation stations are regulated in terms of the time and situation in which they can run.
We would dictate typically the hours, but if someone wants to qualify it as an emergency backup generator, it can only run it when the power has been cut off. And then there is an allowance, I believe it's 100 hours per year for testing and maintenance outside of those true power curtailments. If you don't plan to abide by that, you're regulated more stringently as a non-emergency engine. And those are primarily driven by federal regulations that do that. We also have our local strategic toxic air reduction program that, unlike federal rules, includes diesel particulate as a pollutant. We do permit quite a few generators. Traditionally, those are backup power. As most folks understand that data centers are a little different. Currently, LG&E reports having enough capacity to power the day-to-day activities. But even testing and maintaining dozens of engines at a site is a real game changer from a facility that may have one or two to keep the lights on during a power outage. So from an air pollution standpoint, that is the data center issue. There's certainly water usage, rates that we don't address, but for us, we would plan to review and permit the generators. And I think it's likely, and it's my hope, that they would be used for backup power only, but that can still be a pretty significant impact.
Yeah, and what we're finding in other parts of the country is that there are efforts to expand the definition of what an emergency is. So I'm not sure if that's come up before you guys yet, but this, from what I can tell, a data center in that part of town would be a.
If you want to submit some stuff in writing, we want to continue on with this. These are 3-minute limited
Okay.
terms, their comments. versus
May I ask just
discussion.
one more quick question?
Quickly.
Thank you. There are also different types of generators. There's type 2 generators, which are diesel operated, and type 4, I think, that are gas powered and natural gas powered and have a lot more air pollution control devices in the system itself. Do we have any regulations that would require a cleaner system as opposed to a business that would want to put data centers in that were the cheapest?
Mr. Chair, is it okay if I quickly address that, or would you?
Well,
And I'm happy to stay around after the meeting too.
I would prefer that you stay around after the meeting if you have the time.
Sure, thank you.
And the other part, you can also reach out to Mr. King with more specific questions
Very good.
and he'll respond.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more. We have Sean Trace Martin from React.
Good morning. So Sean Trace, as she said, I'm a Parkland resident, business owner, mom of 1 kid and 1 dog. So a little while ago, my nephew, who's 11, was walking home from school and he started coughing. The coughing turned into choking, and he called my sister. We were in Smoketown on our way back to the West End. And as he was fighting to breathe, for us, it was terrifying, trying to hurry up and get back to the West End. This is happening more and more. When Ebony talked about those like dust particles, all that stuff that's going on, I know there's uncapped basins. It is much higher in the West End than anywhere else in Louisville. I know you're probably familiar with the report that people in the West End tend to live about 10 years less overall. Their life expectancy is 10 years less overall than people in the East End. This is something that has continued. I just turned 41, and this has been the case for as long as I can remember. For me coming to these meetings, I don't know exactly who's our advocate. And I would like to know who I can go to. I go to Ebony personally. because I know she's very knowledgeable, and she'll take action, but I know that's also not her job. So my main comment is like, how do we as Weston residents trust that folks in these positions have our backs? And I don't know any of y'all personally. I don't think I've met any of y'all before today. So I would love for that to change for a lot of residents. We don't get to see the people who are helping make these decisions. We don't even know if y'all understand. We don't know if you have us in mind when certain policies are voted on or talked about. And it's not an accusatory thing. I personally don't know. If it wasn't for Ebony, I wouldn't know half of these things. I don't get the alerts. There have been times where I smell something, I see something, and I'm not getting that alert on my phone to tell me something's wrong, even though I see and smell that something's wrong. I know there's been an increase in, and let me know when my time is up. I know there's been like an increase in hospitalizations for these respiratory issues. And as a mom, that concerns me. When we lived in California, my son didn't have any respiratory issues. We've now been back since the pandemic, and it's gotten worse. And the diet hasn't changed. Our lifestyle hasn't changed. Our zip code has changed though. And if you don't know, California doesn't have the best air quality either, but this has been exponentially worse. And I'm concerned as a homeowner because I have 25 years left on the mortgage, so I'm gonna be there for a while. And so I would really love for these things to be addressed. And I feel like we need tangible action, and there's just concern for myself, for my neighbors, as we're helping each other through the winter, as we're helping shovel snow. Like, what is the city doing to support and help us? It's really concerning. Personally, I grew up in the West End. I would love to stay there, but I can't let my son be like a test case. And so, yeah, I would love for us to have like stronger and more publicized and easily accessible resources, because it's hard to find, and it shouldn't be on just React or just Ebony or just these community organizations. And I'm sure you all didn't join this for the money. From what I know, y'all don't get paid that much. I don't know if you get paid at all. So I'm hoping that you're doing this because you care about the environment, you care about your fellow residents, and that's what I'm leaning on. I'm leaning on that hope that you're here for the mission and not the money. And yeah, so that's all my comments.
Thank you. Thank you. Has anybody provided a written comment this morning?
No, they have not.
Are there any other members of the public in the Edison room that wish to make a comment this morning? If so, please step to the podium and give us your name. Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to make a brief comment on this video teleconference? If so, please raise your hand via video teleconference and you'll be called upon. This is a feature you can find on the participants list or by pressing *3 of joining by phone. Ms. Robbins,
See no raised.
thank you. This completes the public comment portion of our meeting this morning. Moving along, there is no unfinished business. There is no new business. There are no committee reports, which brings us to the director's report. Director Hamilton.
As promised, today will be a shorter meeting than last month's. Assistant Director Flannery O'Neill is working this week to fill 2 vacant environmental coordinator positions. We look forward to adding new staff to these key positions in our program planning section, which Ms. O'Neill supervises. And likewise, we hope to add a new communications coordinator, another key position in Ms. O'Neill's section, in the next few weeks. I think we may have confirmation that we've had a successful hire there. We're still waiting to get that confirmed. With any luck, we'll be able to introduce you to these new staff members next month. With respect to our federal funding, I mentioned last month that we're already beginning work on our Metro fiscal budget for fiscal year 27, which will start July 1. Since part of our budget includes funding from US EPA, we're awaiting a final federal budget for fiscal year 26, which actually began back on October 1st of this year. We look forward to Congress completing the federal budget before January 30th, when another federal shutdown could happen. Just a quick update with respect to US EPA. Following the shutdown, from a headquarters standpoint, they have now launched their kind of slow-moving reorganization at the federal level. We see offices and how the work that previously was done through the Office of Research and Development and the Office of Transportation and Air Quality will be integrated into this new headquarters structure. What we don't see yet are all the people who will be assigned to those offices. Now, we have seen some directors move into those offices. The good news is there are many names that we recognize from our long career together. But there's a lot of details left for us to see. So with that, on Anderson Wood, during the district's October 27th meeting with the company, they informed us that they were going to re-brick and do some scheduled maintenance on their wood-fired boiler. It was not operating and had not operated until earlier, late November, early December. I forget exactly what date it was, Steve. But the company notified APCD when they restarted their boiler. They were curing the fire brick that they had installed. At that time, when the district was on site, we identified a potential non-compliance with the boiler. Since then, Anderson Wood is performing additional maintenance activities. The district will be back on site once those repairs are completed and the boiler is restarted so that we can observe its operation. Non-compliance issues will be addressed under the district's investigation, practice, and enforcement policy. Enforcement actions are reported to the board monthly, and they're also made available to the public in an interactive dashboard with links to reference documents on our website. If you would like to see more of that information, we can certainly show folks a tour of our website at the January board meeting. So they'll be able to find that, as well as a reminder that we've installed a sensor down at Maupin Elementary, which is about a block and a half away, and where that data can be accessed on EPA's fire and smoke map. I do want to let folks know that the city of Louisville does have an open code enforcement action for the building's condition, and folks can follow that through Planning and Design's website. That's my last one for today, other than some thank yous. But as you may remember, this one's kind of a weird one. US EPA announced 31 deregulatory actions in March, with 27 of those planned for the air program that we implement as co-regulators. EPA announced a very ambitious and aggressive timeframe. Their hope had been to complete all 27 of these actions by year's end, with a plan that they would get the regulations out there, get them finalized, be sued, and then be able to get through that litigation during the term of this administration. It takes a lot more time to deregulate, not as much time as it does to regulate. So their schedule has slowed down, and they've acknowledged that many of these actions are going to be pushed into 2026. However, one of those 27 actions included revisiting EPA's February 7, 2024 reconsideration of the National Ambient Air Quality Standard for Particulate Matter, which revised the standard from 12 to 9 micrograms per cubic meter. That's a 25% reduction. At the time of the reconsideration in 2024, EPA estimated the more stringent standard would prevent about 4,500 annual deaths by 2032 and deliver $77 in health benefits for every dollar spent. The rule was the result of a reconsideration process launched by the Biden administration following the first Trump administration's 2020 decision to retain the existing particulate matter standards, which were adopted in 2013. New standard was challenged in early 2024 by a group of states, including Kentucky. After the current administration took office, the case was placed in abeyance to allow new agency leadership the chance to review the rule. Following that, EPA informed the court in August that it expected to sign a proposed replacement rule in the fall of 2025 and hoped to sign a final rule by February 2026. And that is because there is a regulatory procedure that will take place in February of 26, and that is to designate states as attaining the standard or not. A designation of not meeting the standard means an area has to kick off their planning and find a way to bring the area into attainment. For our area, just a reminder, we are meeting the 9 microgram per cubic meter standard here in our metropolitan statistical area. Any questions about that part of the story?
Well, I just wait and see, right?
Well,
In essence.
yeah, except this wasn't exactly the way we thought that this process would roll out here. We thought we'd see a rulemaking too. However, we're not going to see that. EPA's plan to do this through rulemaking lasted until November 19th, when EPA filed a motion to vacate the revised 2024 particulate matter standard with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit. EPA's purported basis for this change in its position, previously defending the standard, is that the reconsideration process undertaken by the Biden administration violates the Clean Air Act statutory authority because EPA conducted only a partial review and not the thorough review called for in the statute. As an alternative, the court doesn't like that argument. They argue that it should be vacated because EPA acted arbitrarily and capriciously by refusing to consider the costs associated with revising the National Ambient Air Quality Standard mid-cycle. I've said it many times before, the Clean Air Act is a continuous improvement plan. The statute calls for EPA to review the most up-to-date health-based science on about a 5-year basis.
So as this process plays out, the 9 milligram standard remains in effect.
It does.
Right.
It does. So what's happening now is that EPA has officially, their words, confessed their error with the earlier position it took in the litigation, and it is withdrawing its previous approval of that standard. This wasn't on our bingo card. We didn't think this, well, none of us thought this was the way it would go.
Okay.
Unusual to say the least. By asking the court to vacate the rule instead of undertaking rulemaking, EPA avoids having to expend the time and effort involved in notice and comment rulemaking. So what's next? The briefing schedule has closed. County Attorney Quan Nguyen checked yesterday. Responses objecting to EPA's motion were to be filed yesterday. He'll monitor those and pass along those that are significant to us, and we will share a summary of those with the board at the next board meeting. There's a judge involved here. He will make a decision. It will be either to agree with EPA to vacate the standard and end the litigation. It's possible, and Quan, please feel free to jump in, that the court could order more briefing from the parties to explore this further. Or he could reject EPA's motion at this late stage. Unusual? Absolutely.
Any sense of time frame for the judge's ruling?
EPA has asked for the judge to act before February 7th, which is the deadline when they'll have to make those attainment designations. Now, Clean Air Act does allow them to give themselves a 1-year extension. So it's possible that we can see that.
Okay.
For our area, I do want to let the board know that most of our sources of particulate matter are well controlled. Here in Louisville, we have, with respect to coal plants, Mill Creek is our last coal-fired unit with conversion of Cane Run to natural gas. The now fully dismantling of the Gallagher Station in Indiana. There are few large sources of particulate matter left in our airshed. I'd like to thank the board for their service. Our board is a volunteer board that do not get paid. And I understand the commitment that you all make, and I'm grateful for that. I'd like to thank our staff for their work here in Louisville. I often go to national conferences, and it is amazing to me how many times I have state aid directors remarking on the quality of our staff and their expertise.
You had also mentioned about a presentation in the next board meeting related to the dashboard and accessibility to data and reports. I think that would be a good idea. We could do that.
We will. We'll be happy to walk folks through the website. What Chairman Sullivan is referring to is we have a commitment by April 30th to make our PDFs accessible under the ADA. And that is a lot of work, given how many documents we have on our website. And it will involve a team from Metro government. We've made it clear to them that our work needs to be timely because of the public involvement. And we'll work to be sure that we understand how to make that work on their end as smooth as possible as we undertake that big project.
Okay, any questions from board members? All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Thank
much.
you.
So the air quality report, the enforcement data report, the access emissions report, and complaint investigation status report were all submitted electronically. Does any board member have a question or comment on those reports? Hearing none, it's going to bring us to the end to this meeting. We want to happy holidays to everybody. Our next meeting will occur in 2026 on January 21st at 10 a.m. Thank you.